In a quiet countryside town, the kind where church bells still rang on Sunday mornings and neighbors waved from their porches, there lived an old woman everyone called Miss Ellie. Her hair was silver like moonlight, her face etched with gentle wrinkles that told a lifetime of stories. But her eyes, bright, warm, and endlessly kind, made you feel safe the moment she looked your way. Miss Ellie lived alone in a small white cottage under a great oak tree. Her husband had passed long ago and she never had children of her own. Yet somehow, she was never lonely. Every morning, she'd sit on her porch with a cup of tea, smiling at whoever walked by as if she carried a secret that made life lighter. The townsfolk adored her. They said Miss Ellie had a special kind of peace, one that didn't depend on perfect days or easy times. And truthfully, life in that town wasn't easy. Some years the fields were dry, other times sickness came through and left families struggling. One afternoon, a young woman named Clara came to Miss Ellie's porch. Her face was pale, her eyes red from crying. "Miss Ellie," she said in a trembling voice, "I don't know what to do anymore. My husband went north to find work. It's been months. No letter, no money. My children are hungry and I'm so afraid." Miss Ellie smiled softly. "Come, my dear. Sit. Tell me, what do you believe will happen?" Clara wiped her tears with the corner of her shawl. "I don't know," she whispered. "Every night I imagine the worst, that he can't find work or that he's forgotten about us. I try to pray, but all I feel is fear." Miss Ellie nodded slowly, her eyes gentle. "You see, Clara," she said softly, "the thoughts we feed are the ones that grow. When we plant fear, we harvest worry. But when we plant hope, even a small seed of it, our hearts begin to breathe again." Clara looked down. "But how can I think hopeful thoughts when everything around me feels broken?" Miss Ellie smiled, a smile that had seen decades of storms and still chose sunlight. "Let me tell you a story," she said, her voice steady and calm. "Once there was a man who had nothing, no money, no family, not even a roof over his head. He sat by the river, crying. An old woman passing by asked, 'Why are you crying, son?' He said, 'Because I have nothing.' The woman pointed to the water and said, 'You have this river to drink from. You have trees that give you shade. You have the sun that warms your skin. You are surrounded by gifts, yet you see only your lack.' The man looked around, really looked, and for the first time he saw life instead of loss." Miss Ellie leaned back in her chair, her voice soft as wind through the oak leaves. "That man didn't suddenly find money or luck," she said, "but something inside him shifted. When he stopped counting what was missing and started seeing what remained, his heart grew lighter. And from that lightness came strength." Clara frowned, thoughtfully. "So you're saying his life changed just because he changed how he thought?" "That's exactly what I'm saying," Miss Ellie replied. "You see, Clara, our thoughts are like the lens of a camera. When it's smudged with fear, everything looks dark and hopeless. But if we clean it, if we choose to focus on what's good, even in hardship, suddenly, the picture clears." Clara hesitated. "But what if good thoughts don't change anything?" Miss Ellie smiled again, her wrinkles deepening with warmth. "They already change you, and when your heart changes, you begin to face your troubles with new eyes. You find solutions where before there were only walls." The wind rustled through the oak branches, scattering a few golden leaves at their feet. "Each morning," Miss Ellie continued, "tell yourself, 'Today will be a good day.' Say it even when you don't feel it. Hope isn't pretending things are perfect, it's believing that even in the mess, something good is still possible." Clara looked up, her tears drying. "I'll try," she whispered. "I will try." From that day on, Clara did what Miss Ellie had told her. Each morning before the sun peeked over the fields, she whispered to herself, "Today will be a good day." Even when her back ached and the pantry was nearly empty, she repeated it. At first it felt foolish, like pretending, but something subtle began to shift. She found herself humming as she washed clothes. She smiled more at her children. She started baking bread for neighbors, even when she had little to share. And in return, they helped her with small things. A basket of apples here, a loaf of bread there. Weeks passed. One crisp morning, a postman arrived at Clara's door with a letter. Her hands trembled as she opened it. It was from her husband. He had found steady work in the city and was sending money home. Clara burst into tears, but this time they were tears of relief and gratitude. She ran as fast as her legs would carry her to Miss Ellie's cottage. Miss Ellie was there, as always, sitting beneath the old oak tree with her cup of tea. Clara could barely speak through her smile. "He found work. He's coming home soon." Miss Ellie's eyes glimmered. "You see, my dear? You didn't just wait for good news. You prepared your heart to receive it." She took Clara's hands gently. "Remember this, life will always have storms, but when your thoughts are calm, you can still see the sky." Word of Clara's joy and of Miss Ellie's wisdom spread quickly through the little town. Soon, other villagers began stopping by the old woman's porch. A blacksmith whose hands were weary, a widow who'd lost her husband to illness, a farmer worried about the coming drought. They all came, looking for comfort. Miss Ellie never gave them money, nor magic words. She only offered tea, a listening ear, and the same simple truth. Think good thoughts, my friend. Speak them out loud. Hope isn't foolish, it's fuel. At first, some didn't believe her, but little by little, something began to change in that town. People started greeting each other with smiles again. They helped one another rebuild fences, shared food, and told stories under the oak tree. It wasn't that their problems disappeared. It was that their hearts had learned how to face them with courage. One summer evening, Clara sat beside Miss Ellie watching the sun dip below the hills. Children laughed in the distance. Fireflies danced through the twilight air. "Miss Ellie," Clara said softly, "you've changed this whole town." The old woman smiled, eyes reflecting the fading light. "No, my dear," she said. "I only reminded everyone of something they'd forgotten, that peace doesn't come from what we have, but from what we believe." As the stars began to shine, the oak leaves whispered overhead, as if the whole world was quietly agreeing.